Welcome to More Than a Parent, a podcast exploring who we are and what we want outside of being a parent, so we can create an integrated lifestyle with impact both in and out of our homes. I'm Caz Gaddis, and I invite you to join me to be your more, live your and. Welcome to our Valentine's Day episode. It's Valentine's Day weekend if you're hearing this in real time, as in when the episodes air. And so I wanted to say, first of all, happy Love Day, Friendship Day, every day to you, wherever you may be located, regardless if you're in the States and celebrate this holiday. I'm wishing you lots of love and just a lot of really good friendship moments and quality friendship moments as well. So on today's episode, I'm super excited. You're about to witness some real, real, I guess, look into our lives. Today's show is the dad side. I am actually going to be interviewing Les, my husband now of almost 8 years this year. We've been together for 10. And so I wanted to introduce to you who he is, and well, I'll get to that in a minute. So here we go. So Les Gaddis is awesome, not just because I married him. He really is just an amazing human person. Human person, I just said that. Anyway, he's originally from New Orleans. He actually came to Dallas because of Katrina, the hurricane that happened years ago. And in that, one of the things I actually appreciate about him the most is how he was able to recreate and pick himself back up and build from there, having only brought his car and his keyboard, his laptop, and a hamper of clothes. It was a very tragic, very devastating time for him and his family, and of course many others that were impacted by that. But his story and the way that he's been able to overcome in so many different ways this challenge and other challenges he's had is one of the things I admire most about him. He originally started his studies in music production, and he actually then changed that into film production. And so he graduated from the Art Institute of Dallas, and he has been now a cinematographer for 20 plus years. Specifically, he has been a director of photography for the last at least probably 6 to 7 years. And what I really love about him and that inspires me, and for a while it was very hard to accept, is how masterful he is. He truly is a student of his craft, and no matter how much he can do or knows, he's always studying, he's always taking time every day to just get into that next level. The other really cool thing about Les is he is always sharing that. He's a film educator, and he loves to help people see what's possible and help people create powerful visual stories to share with the world and make their impact that way. So he's a podcaster and film educator. His podcast is called Capturing Light. It's a director of photography's podcast, has had over 150,000 downloads. He's been podcasting now for I think going on now 5 years. And he's been doing different educational things. There's workshops that he does. He has an online community that he shares and pours into that is free. So if you are interested in film or dabble a little bit, or maybe you're already, quite advanced in it, you'll definitely love to connect into the community. All that information is in the show notes, which is at cazgaddis.com/E008. So like episode 8 with 2 O's or 2 zeros in the mix. Anyway, so Les, he also is a really big believer, and one of his big values that he teaches his students and his community is that it's not about the camera. It's really about your experience and how you're able to then up level, right? Like really getting the most out of that camera for what you're looking to do. So he's helping people be able to use what they have, and then also to achieve like that next level look with it, which I think is really awesome, because if you are in the film industry, it's one of those, they always ask like, what camera do you use? Which is great, but it's not the whole thing. So I've actually been dabbling alongside Les, and there is a picture of the first time I was ever on set with him 10 years ago now. He brought me on set. We were just dating, first month in. He's like, yeah, come on, check it out. Check out how we do this. And I get there and he put me to work. So we've been producing together over the last 10 years, on and off. And especially the last couple of years, it's been different because now I have the kids, and different being on set with all of them. But he's super cool. So had that to share. And then I have a little post-it here. I wanted to make sure because mom brain is real. So on this episode, what you're going to hear is us really tired. It's going to be at 1 a.m. that we're recording this because that's how we do it. And we're going to talk about the dad side, right? Like, what does it mean being more than a parent as a dad, and his own experience with dad guilt. We also talk about how to approach integrating, like all the things, like who it is that we both are being, what he's pursuing and creating. Being that we're both parentpreneurs as well, there's just, it's a whole new dance and shuffle because we're full-time immersed in what it is we're creating, and we're in charge of what it is also that we're bringing in home, right? As far as income. We also touch on how do you keep the love flowing, right? Because there's just so much life going on. So how do you make sure to still support each other throughout all this? And yeah, so anyway, so that's Les. You're going to check him out here in a minute. He is quite stoic at times. He's just awesome. And it's one of those opportunities he gets to be in front of the camera. So I, of course, love that. So check it out. Hopefully this resonates. We've had quite a bit of guys, quite a bit of dads listen to this show. And so I will be bringing on every now and again some really cool dads to share their experience too in being more than a parent, because I feel like at the end of the day, the show is called More Than a Parent. It's not just more than a mom, though we focus on that. It's really kind of painting the full picture. So here's Les. Check it out.
I'm really excited because we get to actually connect and share with everyone more than a parent as a couple and as individuals. All the episodes thus far have been more focused on mom. And while that is a primary focus because I am a mom and, my experiences, that's what I can kind of chat about, there's an element of parent as a co-parenting team, right, that we are, and the different challenges that we've each had, being entrepreneurs, in the times that we were employees, except that I was the only one that was an employee as a parent. You've been full-time self-employed, but now both parentpreneurs and also all the other things. So I'm really excited to share you today, and also start bringing in every now and again, sprinkling some of the dad side, because I don't want to not show that. I think there's so much importance in that. I don't think that sometimes, maybe even as moms, but in general, we don't talk about some of the challenges there. Because just like with the mom thing, and sometimes those conversations not happening, it's like, I just have to get through it. This is just what it is. But we don't give credit and value to what you're doing and who you're being amidst it all. Not just in the role of significant other spouse, but as a dad, as an entrepreneur, all the different things that you are. So I'm excited.
Yay. Thank you.
You're welcome. And this is pretty much us. Like, I'm like, blah, 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 blah. And he's like succinct. He's like, yay.
So who am I, though, besides
So this man right here.
Co-parent.
Partners in Banfield. You're my best friend. And it's Valentine's Day. Hey.
And my name is Caz Gaddis.
This is true. Notice the roses. But yeah, your name is Caz Gaddis. We've been together, how long?
Almost 10 years.
This is true. 10 years this year. And we've been married for...
almost 8 years.
Yeah, next month. Yeah. And we got 2 kids. And there's just been a lot of life that has happened in between all that.
Indeed.
Lots of fails. Lots of funny moments. Lots of successes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Lots of businesses.
Yeah. In the mix. Yeah, for sure. So I wanted to ask you first and foremost, how has becoming a dad altered you?
Good question.
Thanks.
I think honestly, the first thing that comes to mind is it's made me more efficient.
I'm sorry, I wasn't going to take you seriously for a minute. I thought you were going to be like, it's made me more than a parent. Because you
I was
sometimes...
waiting for that, and you just stole it. I was waiting for the perfect time.
Were you?
And it
I
just
just took
wasn't.
it from you?
Yeah, it wasn't that time. It was coming.
I knew it was, but that's why I was just
coming.
like, he's about to. Like, we're just starting. Okay, so go ahead. I'm sorry. Go back.
No, you're good. But just efficiency. I mean, before I was a parent, I thought I was efficient. But when you have one kid, you're like, okay, I gotta, the whole baby effect. I gotta make things happen. I gotta make more money. I gotta spend time, effective time with my family. And then, having another child, and it requires more time.
Yeah.
There's only so much time in one day to where it's like, okay, when I'm working, it's like I need to really focus. And then, when I'm with you or the kids, it's like I really need to focus. And it's hard, because you're being pulled so many different directions. But I think, honestly, just efficiency has been like the big thing that I think has changed since becoming a parent.
Yeah. So that I definitely agree with. And we've talked a lot about that. Has there been any major change for your identity or like any shifts in that in becoming a dad?
I don't know if I feel like there's been like a major shift as much as it's like, okay, this is who I am now. So, like in my mind, I've always been a person that's been pretty patient, and I've had, I think, qualities that I think someone that would attribute to like a good or great parent. So compassion and patience and all these things, but like actually going into becoming a parent, I don't think that there was much of a noticeable shift that I was just like, okay, now I'm, this or that. I think it just was like a smooth transition, because I know it's easier said on the father side because you don't have the incubating 9-month journey and
10 months.
Well,
Everyone always forgets about that additional month.
So
I'm gonna sip my tea.
That's coffee.
It's coffee. But I'm gonna sip it.
Yeah. But yeah, to answer your question, I don't really have like this defining quality that I think becoming a parent has kind of shown me.
Okay. So different for us moms though, right? I mean, everyone has their journey, but I feel like when I've asked other moms, they're like, it ripped me apart. It put me back together.
That's because it does though.
But I don't even mean just the physical. Y'all, he caught both babies. Like he was my life coach. Well, in a way you are, but he was my birth coach. He helped, with both, if you guys saw a couple episodes ago, when it was a tribute to being a parent, our parentversary, the birth stories there, and you can see him with Sky, but he did the same thing with Quest, and that was even longer, 17 hours later. But anyway, not about that right now. But just how you are really a very involved father, a very involved parent, spouse is what I meant to say, because father and parent, the same thing. Cool. So we talked about more than a parent, what it relates to, as it relates to moms in the past. And as far as a dad, what does it look like for you to be more than a parent?
Well, I mean, for me, being more than a parent is just, not necessarily just meeting the status quo or like just meeting someone's expectations of what a good dad or a good spouse would be, but like I guess holding myself to a higher standard. And it's easy to be labeled, and I'm sure your audience, I'm sure everyone that becomes a parent, it's easy to just say, okay, I'm the mom, or I am the dad, and, you know, I'm going to put my kids first. And, you know, like even with entrepreneurship and everything with business and, you know, with me, it's just kind of been this delicate balance, or, you know, this balancing act where, you know, I want to not only be a great father, but a great spouse, a great husband, a great entrepreneur, and just it's easy to just say, okay, parents, and, you know, having kids, okay, mom is going to take care of that. I'm going to provide. So, you know, you'll wake up in the middle of the night, I'll sleep because I need to work. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's being more than just what's expected. So even though I may not wake up all the time, or, you know,
He doesn't.
Yeah, I don't.
I don't know how it's like a superpower.
Yeah, I can tune it out. Seriously, it's pretty amazing. But, you know, but not only with that, but also too, just being present is like a big thing, where I think being more than a parent, like just, I mean, because they're, you know, your kids are always going to be like, okay, I see you as mom, or I see you as dad. And obviously we're more than just that, you know, like we have our dreams, we have our goals.
We haven't even talked about what it is that you do. And so my question more is, how does being more than a parent look like for you specifically?
Well, I mean, being more than a parent for me specifically, you know, I'm a cinematographer. And
So him being in front of the camera is like a big leap.
Yeah.
He also cuts himself short. He's been a filmmaker now for over 20 years. Yeah. And I mean, we'll link in the show notes to his reel and that kind of thing. But
Right.
he's done everything from high-end commercials, short films, feature films, music videos, all of that. 20 years.
20
So you were saying?
years. Yeah, and, you know, like, just, so, like, my passion has always been cinematography and just filmmaking in general.
Right.
When I met you, you know, one of our first dates, our second date, was you coming onto a music video shoot and me putting you to work.
No warning. None.
She passed the test. But, you know, also too, it's like, it's kind of the same with parenthood for me, in the sense that I didn't know what to expect, but I just kind of jumped into it, where it's just, I mean, you can kind of plan for it, but at the end of the day, it's like, you know, it's like this beautiful but chaotic mess that you're just trying to figure out.
Yeah.
And, you know, balancing not getting lost in just only trying to be a good father, but also, you know, wanting to be a better husband. And, you know, I mean, that's one thing that I constantly strive to do.
Do you ever feel, so we a lot of times hear about mom guilt or experience mom guilt, but have you ever felt dad guilt?
Yeah, definitely.
Really?
I mean,
This is the first time that I've ever even asked. So,
well, I mean, as an entrepreneur, especially, you know, with, I mean, Quest is almost 5 months. So just 5 months ago, you were in labor, and, you know, it was maternity leave at this point, and
17 hours.
17 hours. And, you know, it's like, there's so much that you do already. And then on top of that, like, now with, you know, taking care of the house and taking care of the kids and me, being busy, bringing in what I can as an entrepreneur, it's like, okay, sometimes from a father side, I'm like, okay, well, I want to be as present as I can, but I know that there's certain projects that need to happen, or I have a shoot tomorrow that I need to wake up early for. So I can't spend as much quality time, or I can't necessarily support you, in the way that I want to support you. So, I mean, there's definitely guilt there. Yeah, I mean...
What helps you get through it, or like reframe?
I think it just depends on the time and the day, because I mean, there are certain times where it's just like you have that guilt and you're just like, okay, well, this is what it is. And then other times, I guess reframing is just like, I'm doing the best that I can in the situation that, I know as I was growing up, my dad, like, he taught me, and even till this day when I talk to him, he's like, hey, he didn't know his dad. And he was like, hey, I want to be the best dad for you, and I want you to be a better dad than I was. And, that's kind of what I tell myself. And then also, too, it's just, again, being present. Like, there's going to be times when I'm making a film or out of town or whatever, and it's just reminding myself, hey, when I can be as present as I can in the now, because just time is so important spent, especially in the early years.
Yeah. Well, and I think intentionality is such a big piece of this. And like, I know that there's been times that you've gone to pre-production meetings with Quest,
right,
with you, or Quest was actually in a commercial because he happened to be a baby and happened to be on set.
Right.
So, and he looked so cute. We'll also link to that. He was on a donut commercial and he looked so cute. But yeah, like there's times where you've integrated them or us in it. Before the kids, I would be on set much more frequently, actually working on set. There's a feature film likely happening in this year that all of us actually will be going to Europe for about 2.5 months, so that we stay together during that time. So just a lot of intentional planning as parents, as entrepreneurs, creatives, and all the mix. So yeah. Right. So what would be one thing that you would share with parents maybe tuning in that are considering, or they're currently like us, full-time parentpreneurs, full-time entrepreneurs, that are also looking at how to have less of the mom or dad guilt and really also be there for each other as people and be there for their kids? Really long question. You're welcome.
I think advice that I would give specifically to dads, just because I am one, is just communication, open communication. Yeah. I talk about this. I have a podcast called Capturing Light, and I talk about communication as a cinematographer, whether it be communicating with a director, with actors. Just communication is just such an important tool in life. And, especially with your partner or spouse, just that open communication is huge. And then secondly, just that support system with communication.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if you've noticed the last month, maybe even few months, I've really been trying to express more my gratitude, and really just being open as far as just letting you know that you're not alone and that I see you and I see what you're doing. As men, it's easy to take advantage of or take granted of the fact that, you know, the kids may want the mom more. Or
Yeah, be like, there you go.
right, yeah. Or, you know, the moms just are better at nurturing, you know, they have this bond that's unbreakable and, you know, all these different things. But just that open communication and letting you know, or letting your spouse know, hey, you know, I see what you're doing. I appreciate what you're doing. It goes a long way to, you know, your wife or spouse not feeling like you're just completely ignored or taken advantage of them. So, I mean, that would be like my biggest thing to tell specifically dads.
What does that have to do with entrepreneurship?
How?
It was such a great question. I mean, such a great answer. My question was, what's one thing you would share with other parents who are considering or currently, like us, are full-time parentpreneurs? Like, what would you tell them about entrepreneurship and having kids and like the integration of it all?
Oh, okay. I misunderstood
Listening
the
is
question.
still something.
That I'm working on, apparently.
It's a long, lifelong journey.
Well, I mean, yeah, that question is long though too.
Really?
Okay, one more time the question. Give me time to think. Go ahead.
Oh my gosh. What one thing would you share with other parents who are considering or currently are, like us, full-time parentpreneurs?
To the person that may be considering to jump into entrepreneurship, I would just say do it. If you could figure out a way to make that jump more of like a step instead of a leap, then even better. Some people aren't as fortunate to, you know, make the seamless transition from employee to employer or entrepreneur.
Well, and with that said, neither of us had that fortunate piece of seamlessly just transitioning. We just transitioned. That's not for everybody in the sense of how we did it. We both plunged in in different ways. One and then the other type of thing, like always in all the entrepreneurship journeys that we've had, always one of us has been, up until 3 years ago, one of us was always full-time employed and then carried the insurance for the family during that time, while the other one pursued their endeavors, and then we would switch on and off. And now we're both self-employed. So yeah.
Yay. And then also, I would just encourage anyone that may be thinking about jumping into entrepreneurship, specifically if you're a parent, is thinking about the example that you're setting for your kids.
Yeah.
So for me, I wanted to, and I still want to, when Sky and Quest get older, really challenge them to pursue their dreams, you know, and like, if they come at me with okay, well, did you pursue your dreams? I want to be able to look them in the eyes and say, yes, you know, this is my dream. I am pursuing my dreams, and not, oh, well, you know, like, Daddy worked hard so that you can do it. It's like, okay, yeah, I'm working hard and working in my dream. You are a part of my dream. Now go and, you know, like, discover your own dreams and, you know, pursue your own dreams.
Yeah, I love that. Well, and we've talked about that, like just even like with their funds after high school, like being like, hey, you could go to college. You could also use this for a business, or, you know, here's for college and here still is some money that you can, you know, see what you can create from, whether that's a business or traveling and figuring out what they want to add to themselves. So, and we are being an example of what is possible, so that then they can, kind of like how your dad said, then they can do what's possible for them, and hopefully even better than us and faster than us, because hopefully we can teach them some ways to shave off time and all that.
Right.
Yeah. But I do want to say I love what you said before. It is actually part of my next question. So that's why I was just like, he's getting ahead. So you kind of jumped into this a little bit earlier.
Well, and he jumped into your arms.
Yeah. Welcome back. Actually, you haven't gone anywhere, but welcome to the new, well, he's been a co-host of this podcast since the beginning. This is our Valentine's Day episode. And I thought it would be cool to share for people who just parent together or work together or are entrepreneurs separately, whatever the case is. There's been times that we've been asked, like, how do we do it? Or like, what helps us in the sense? And so my question for you, which you kind of went into a little bit before, is what are a few things that you feel keep our love going after 10 years and 2 kids, multiple businesses, and all the life that has happened in between that someone else can maybe try on?
So much life.
A lot of life. We have so much gray hair. That's how much life has happened.
Yeah, I didn't have any gray hair before I met you. Yeah. And now my beard is like white.
What do you mean before you met me?
Right.
Okay, you're making it sound like it was because of me. You know what he said one day? So, real quick, because like it still gets me. So one day we were walking and he had a lot of gray hair because he makes fun of my gray hair, even though he loves it. But he was walking. I was walking on your left or right side. I forget what side it was on. And I was like, oh, look, you have all this gray hair on this one side. And it was something like, why is it or whatever? And he goes, because that's the side you normally walk on.
I thought it was funny at the time.
Mm-hmm. So continue. So what are a couple of things that you think would help someone when, they're in the midst of lifing and also wanting to be a supportive, significant other? It's a lot of S's.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we talked about this a little bit earlier. Communication is huge. I think just being that support system for each other, and really just looking at the other person's intentions has been something that has really helped us. I know when we may have disagreements, like I don't immediately think that you're trying to attack me just because you're trying to attack me. I'm like, okay, well, why? First off, why do I feel attacked, or why do I feel this way? And then secondly, I know that you only have my best interest. What are you looking at? You only have my best interests. So, like, if I may do something in business and you're like, well, I don't necessarily agree with that, then,
happens often.
Right. And it's just like, okay, well, instead of, getting hurt about the situation, okay, well, why doesn't she agree? I know she has her best intentions, our best intentions, my best intentions, his best intentions.
Oh, geez. We were going to be a short show until that.
I know. So intentions are important.
Well, and that also goes to critiques. So like, like sharing feedback on work and things like that you do, like projects and.
Right. Yeah, this one little tear. Denzel tear. And I think just the growth that we have as individuals separately and together. The cool thing is that we gel so nicely, and obviously we're best friends, so like we want to spend
gelling
time
like
together.
A felon. I just had to.
Oh my gosh!
I know you gelling. In your mind, you were thinking that briefly, and you're like, don't do it, and then...
No, I wasn't.
No? Okay.
It's hard to keep my train of thought, like, I don't even know what the question was now, because because of the whole gelling like a felon.
You were talking about how well we gel because we're like besties, and talking about how, like how that helps us with like staying connected and like parenting as well.
Yeah, and I think we're like we're still working on it, but not being so consumed with the kids that we don't see each other or don't spend time or connect with each other. And I mean, that's hard, especially with a toddler and a baby.
Who's staring at you like intensely right now.
I know. But yeah, I would just encourage, everyone to continue to communicate, to see the person's intentions, and then really try to pursue each other when you may have a 2-year-old that's crazy and that's driving you crazy. So, not our 2-year-old though. So yeah.
Okay. Well, and something that you mentioned earlier, because I don't know if it's going to stay where we put it or not, but so you mentioned the gratitude piece. And I think that is like, that's been such a game changer for me. It's so important to feel appreciated. And I think both of us do that really well. We've made a joke about it before about like, oh, thank you for this. Oh, thank you for this. Oh, no, thank you for that. Like that. And that we do. Why? Do you disagree or what?
No, keep going.
It's like that commercial. Remember that commercial with the vacuuming and whatever? I forget what it was. It was like an NFL commercial. Anyway, but yeah, the gratitude piece, it just goes such a long way. It's things that you normally shouldn't have to say thank you for. And it's not like you have to, but it's just an appreciation of just the small things every day. And we literally probably, I mean, how many times do you think we tell each other thank you any given day?
I don't know. I mean, I think it's honestly the same amount of times as we say I love you, which is nice because it's easy, especially with time, to just get used to something that, like one of the people takes care of. So like you doing the laundry, like.
But not folding it. I'm working up to that.
But I try to thank you when you do the laundry, even though you've done it for the entirety of our relationship pretty much. And like just that whole seeing you, and just the gratitude, I think helps you not feel like, okay, he doesn't appreciate even the small things.
Right.
And I think that goes a long way in the gratitude piece. So yeah.
Cool. I think also too, so compliments, like randomly, it's the weirdest thing. And it's also weird for me. I'm working on accepting it more, but there are times that he goes, he'll look at me, he goes, you look really nice. And we joke about like the low expectations we have. This is real talk. Like we got kids, we got businesses, which are like kids. And the times that he says that, I either have a shirt that has been spit up 15 times and has spit up marks and like, I'm like, what is he, or there's times where I just washed my hair and it had been like legit this one time. It had been like 3.5 weeks. Yeah. And he's like, wow, you look really nice. And I'm like, I took a shower and I washed my hair. It's like, keep that mark really low, and anything above, taking a shower is like amazing.
That goes both ways.
It does go both ways. Yeah, we both, but it's so nice to be seen in that way for sure. And then little surprises, because when you have kids, they're expensive. When you have a business, that's expensive, but also you're always investing into those things. And so even if it's just like a little something from when you're out and about with work, or I don't know, you went somewhere and like you didn't eat part of whatever the meal was and you bring that for the other person, it's just knowing that you're being thought of is cool. Recently, the last thing I wanted to share that Les was just starting to talk about is we just recently learned the value of which y'all are probably like, really? Like, but we normally, as entrepreneurs, it's like, we always, if we have money, it goes reinvested into the business or into ourselves to be able to be a next best version of ourselves. And some friends recently got us a hotel for the night. We went out to dinner for the first time by ourselves. Maybe the second time by ourselves total since we've had Sky, without either one. And then we got to stay overnight in a hotel that they got us. And like, it was just so very thoughtful and sweet of them. And it was funny because we took our book bags. We're like, we're going to go and work, because for us, work is just like, it's our passion too, right? Like, it's not even work, but I mean, that's what you call it. And we took it with us to think about ideas and just all this. And so all that to say is, it was our first time having a hotel stay in the same city we live in, without the kids. And it was just so restful. It was time for us just to be us. And we talked a little bit about business ideas and this and that. But then the next morning at breakfast, we had even more ideas. And it was just like this being re-energized, because we actually got to sleep a full night. And we had all these new business ideas because we were able to pull away a little bit from the everyday. So from that, we decided that quarterly, we're going to start doing that. And I think that that's a really cool, we've talked about this in the past. It's just, this is the first time we've experienced it. And so now we're like, okay, this is happening, because it was just so awesome. So I would say that that's like the fourth thing, that really would be an impactful thing for any couple to just have time away. Kind of like a couples retreat without going to something that's organized by someone else. It's something that you get to create and make your own retreat from.
Right. And in that time, you become more than a parent.
Oh, geez. You're like, insert here.
Right.
Okay, so as we wrap up, I just wanted to summarize the Valentine's Day piece of, how do we keep our love going? How can you keep your love going? Or things to try is, we talked about everyday gratitude and how that's like beyond the everyday in the way that it feels for one another and being acknowledged. The little something, the little surprises. We talked about intentions and communication. And compliments. And then we talked about we talked about time away from you guys so we can come back and be all refreshed. Yeah. And then the last thing I wanted to ask is, tell us one of your favorite dad jokes.
Ooh.
He gets so excited.
That's a good question. I'm trying to think. Because it's like there's so
what's
many.
happening is that they're all flooding him right now.
Yeah, I know.
And he's too busy in his head laughing to then actually like share them out loud.
What was the one?
But you got to get into it and like look at the camera and like say the joke.
I'm like, what was the one that was recent?
Which one?
Oh, well, but then... Okay, I'm just going to say it. It makes me sound super childish, which I am pretty childish, honestly. But it was one that I saw on Facebook recently, and it was about diarrhea. You know, all dads, a good dad joke is bound to have diarrhea in it. So
is it because they start with the letter D?
Exactly. So... I'm not sure if you know, but diarrhea is hereditary. You may ask why.
Why?
Because it runs in genes.
Runs in your genes?
No, it just runs in genes.
Oh, like...
See? It's all about the delivery. It's all about the delivery. Hey, Shaya.
All right, well... Okay, so last official question, because we've had quite a bit of guys listen to, quite a bit of dads listen to the podcast, and if you could share, so thinking about yourself and your journey that you've been on so far as a dad, if you could go back in time and tell your dad self at any given moment something, like to help them in that moment, what would you tell your past dad self?
Past that self. That's such a. I get what you're saying. But it was such a weirdly phrased question.
Because I know I'm still trying to make it make sense.
Yeah, no, I get
But
it.
everyone else that comes on the show answers this question. Notice how someone who's close to me and feels comfortable tells me it's just flat out a weird, long question. I know. Answer it. No.
So I would tell
Do you need me to
myself.
rephrase it though, or do you get
no,
it?
I got it. I would tell myself that you'll figure it out. You know, like before Quest, before Sky, you know, we were doing all the classes. You know, Caz got me a couple of dad books.
Which he never opened.
No, I did.
Did you?
I made it through half of one.
Oh,
So that's actually exciting for me.
that's actually really big.
Yeah.
I never saw you. Okay. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, well, that's mainly because I was reading it on the toilet. Insert diarrhea joke. Yeah, and just...
Parenthood Unplugged.
Right. Unplugged.
Oh, okay.
So...
I didn't mean it.
Yeah, I mean, you got this. I mean, it may seem scary, you know, at first with not knowing and, you know, just the whole fear of unknown with not maybe having a kid and trying to figure that out, or trying to go into entrepreneurship for the first time and trying to figure that out.
Especially with kids.
Right, especially with kids. I mean, just give it time, you know, like it may not come easy, but, you know, that doesn't mean that it won't come. So just stick through it. I mean, because there's people out there that are doing it. And, like, the people that are doing it, like, the reason that they are successful is because they just decided, hey, I'm just going to stick through it, you know. And some people may have success faster than others, but that doesn't mean that the success is different, you know, in the sense that you know, like, how do I want to, like, I feel like I'm rambling now. It's like 12 o'clock our time and I'm like, okay,
We've had everybody up multiple times.
right. But ultimately you got this.
Well, and I think what you're trying to say, besides being like the Black Ace Ventura over here, like all the animals are coming to you.
Right. Well,
okay, but
confetti.
no. We're so overtired. I'm sorry. Okay, last thing is it's like, don't judge someone else's not ending, but like middle with your beginning. Or, man, all the middles are different. Could you stop sharing all the fur confetti? That Roomba's about to go on. So anyway, thank you for joining this episode of More Than a Parent. You're so silly. You paid for it.
Wait, what?
Oh my gosh. Thank you for joining this episode of More Than a Parent. Super real and just on the couch. Yeah, with everybody. I hope that this gives you just a different perspective on parenting, on being a mom, on the dad part, and just doing this together as we figure it out together. It's like there's no one way. But hopefully some of this maybe either made you laugh, some of it maybe made you cringe, like the bathroom humor, but also just the different things that you can do for one another as you're both on this journey so that the other person feels supported. So yeah, right? So thank you guys.
And there you have it. That is Caz Gaddis, the love of my life, and I guess my partner in crime and creative and children, all the C's. So one thing we did not mention in the intro or in the actual show, but we wanted to make sure to share in case you know somebody or you are interested in film, is that he has a really cool freebie on like what's in his grip kit and the importance of having a grip kit if you are a director, photographer, or anybody on set, even if you're not the quote unquote grip on set. So that might seem like super out there if you're not in film or whatnot, but just know that if you are in film, there's a really cool resource for you. Just go to the show notes at cazgaddis.com/E008 to grab it. So thank you guys for tuning in and for getting to meet more of my family. So bye. Thanks for listening to this episode of More Than a Parent. To be your more, live your and. Continue the conversation and connect at facebook.com/groups/more than a parent.